I'm Stephen Hicks, and my guest today is Professor Jerry Kirkpatrick. Professor Kirkpatrick is a professor of business at California State Polytechnic University in Pomona, California, and he's been visiting Rockford College, sponsored by the Center for Ethics and Entrepreneurship, to give a pair of talks. Last night he spoke in the Introduction to Philosophy class on the theme of the importance of philosophy to business. And Professor Kirkpatrick, you're well positioned to speak to this, given that your undergraduate degree was in philosophy, and then you had some business experience and then a PhD in business.
Right.
So how personally and professionally has that connection worked out?
Well, very well. My original game plan was actually to get a PhD in philosophy and teach. But after got my bachelor's degree, I moved to New York City and got a job working in business, and stayed doing that for about 6.5 years. I realized that working in business was actually kind of fun, a lot more fun than being a student, as I put it, and thought that I might then switch to more of a business career. But eventually I did realize I had interest in things like writing, and it was difficult to do that while working in business, so I realized I probably should go back to school, got the MBA, PhD in business, and have been teaching marketing for quite a few years now.
Okay. One of the things you mentioned in your talk, actually, was the organizing theme is that while business is very practical and applied, and philosophy certainly has a reputation for being abstract, there are nonetheless very important connections right between those two. And you organized your remarks under two headings: the connection between philosophical issues in ethics and philosophical issues in epistemology or cognition, and how, depending on how one approaches those theoretical issues, it makes a very important difference in business.
Yes, it does. The main value in having a philosophical background when working in business is it gives you a tremendous clarity of the specific concrete issues that can come up while working in business. And from the clarity, you also get a lot of confidence in making certain kinds of decisions. So, yeah, it's ethics and epistemology in the sense of what I mean. A lot of issues in business focus around honesty, just good old garden variety, telling the truth, and but then also the issue of wading through confusions and complications to sort them out into a real clear understanding, conceptualization.
Let's take the honesty issue, for example. You give a standard example of a customer service case where a customer calls up and the order hasn't been delivered, and so what do you say?
What do you do?
Right, or somebody calls for the boss, and the boss tells the secretary, "Tell him I'm not in," so to speak. And any number of ways, issues of when one tells the truth, when one withholds information, and all the white lies, and so forth. Now, and we're always grappling with those issues, right? So if we take the philosophical perspective, though, as you did in your talk, you outlined 4 different theoretical perspectives on the issue of honesty. You organized them under an altruism heading and an egoism heading, and then those both had 2 subspecies.
2 subdivisions, And the issue is like dealing with a client, and the order's not on the truck. The boss says, "Well, tell him it's on the truck," but it's not really. It's not true. So what do? You tell the truth? Is it lying? How do you handle that? My judgment is that you should, always tell the truth, deliver what you promise only what you can deliver. But there are further complicating issues that do require a really good understanding of the ethical theories that are out there in the world. And what I talked about was in 2 broad strokes. You've got altruism on one hand, which is the idea of always acting in such a way as to benefit others above self, and then egoism, which is the opposite, acting in such a way as to benefit the self. The 2 breakdowns are from each one. Under altruism, we have the traditional Judeo-Christian ethics, act in such a way as to benefit others without regard for yourself. A more moderate form of it is utilitarianism, which basically says to act in such a way as to benefit the greatest number of people, the greatest happiness of the greatest number. Still is the idea of putting others above self. There's egoism, the theory that not a lot of people are really terribly familiar with, but goes back at least to Aristotle. Today it's most familiarly known as a theory from Ayn Rand, to act in such a way as to benefit oneself. but without sacrificing people to yourself or yourself to others. So in other words, trading value for value with others. And then finally, there's the more familiar notion of egoism, which in effect is to sacrifice others to yourself. From all those theories, you get, in effect, 4 different views of honesty, or telling the truth, or lying. Judeo-Christian is basically thou shalt not lie, period, no matter what. So if a homicidal maniac comes to your door and asks, where's your son or daughter, what do you say? Upstairs, second door on the left? Not good to lie. The utilitarians might say, well, for a good cause, or to benefit the most number of people out there, we could justify a lie. The real extreme egoist who says sacrifice others to self would say, yeah, go ahead and lie, cheat, and steal, whatever. But it's the best theory, the truest theory, the one that I accept, is the Ayn Rand view under egoism, that basically says it's okay to lie in self-defense. That lying and dishonesty are not necessarily the same thing. You're not being dishonest if you lie to this homicidal maniac and tell him, no, my son or daughter is not here. And so knowing this, that there are situations in which you really don't have an obligation or duty to tell the truth in business situations, can be, what is the word, kind of liberating, so you don't have to feel guilty in certain situations. So if it is a truly self-defensive situation where there might be coercion or threat of force put upon you, indirectly it includes privacy, the right of privacy, and that in particular is going to come up when we get into a negotiation situation. Trying to bargain in such a way as to, say, arrive at an agreeable price. Well, the person on the other side of the table might come out and say, tell me now, what is your true rock bottom price, implying if I don't say it, I'm lying. But that person has no right to know that, because it's invasion of privacy. I have no obligation or duty to inform the person. So if I say 100 when it's really 50, I'm not really lying. It is, I'm protecting my privacy.
Right.